Chalk as a duck sitting on a hoard of coins. Yep. A naked duck. It's catching up. Little striped suit like Scrooge has. Oh, it's only... Okay, so you've seen the red violin. That's good to know. Okay, good. I caught up with chat right around the point that the game crashed. Okay, great. So we've got a natural break in the VOD. We are going to get together. I am going to get the hell over what just happened. Thank you so much, guys. Let's go conquer the world. We talked about the stats that we have. We talked about the traits that we're going to move on to. Let's talk about how the game is scored. Let's talk about how we use this information to make some decisions. I have seen Leon the Professional. That is a fantastic movie. For those of you who are on bandwidth limitations, grab that button, hit mobile. I can assure you that the audio quality is the exact same. And I can say soft comments. Still rip? Yeah, sorry. Obviously, if people can't watch it, they're not going to hear this, but you have been refreshing. I hope that works out for you, Skeleton Killman. I noticed a huge drop in the number of people watching, unfortunately. But I'm still coming through with an unbroken broadcast on OBS. Great. Everybody's working out. No soft comments. Actually, I really shouldn't do this, but BRB dudes. I'm going to practice my multitasking while I look for the specific... I have something specific that I'm looking for, but... Alright, so how the game is scored is your prestige and your piety. So your prestige is sort of the works that you do and just generally the sort of the status that you hold. You know, we are living in a very unique period of history where it's easy to see somebody's image now, right? People are famous just for being famous. And yet, if you think about this time, you know, images are very, very rare. You know, maybe if you're the Pope, or maybe if you're... I mean, I don't even think people really knew what the kings looked like that much, to be completely honest. I don't know that much about images in the Middle Ages. So in this case, it's either your deeds or your holdings that contribute to your prestige. And then, of course, your piety is your holy works. So it's maybe worth noticing that I've got 2,394.8. We can go to the religious screen. The Pope, he has got 1,216.7 piety. I will hear your confession, sir. And he's 54. I did wind up catching up on chat, Skeleton Killman. Face cam incoming? The hell I'm doing a face cam, wee bro. I don't want to lose these 400 follows I've worked so hard to get. By the way, I'm decidedly underdressed for the occasion, so there's absolutely no way I'm turning on a camera right now. No, I have a very... I had to get a book. But if I can't find what I was looking for... If I can't find what I was looking to read, I won't do it, but... Desnere? Is that how you pronounce it? Great to see you again. I'm pretty... Wait, you have been... Yes, I will say with certainty you've been here. John confirmed, Nick. Okay, not... Let's not go that far. But yeah, I am definitely not. I don't fit Twitch standards. Desneer. Sitting on my pile of Canadian gold coins. Exactly. Alright, so the game is, it's not just your individual prestige and piety that you get, but it's actually the combined amount over the generations. So this line that you're continuing gets added up together. So previous members of the House Carling, also known as the Carolingian dynasty, 25,000, and then I will be adding almost, or just a little over 10,000 to that. So if this character were to die today, the prestige would move up to 35,000 and change. So by Twitch standards, we know Chalk is shirtless. Otherwise, face cam could happen. Nipple must be visible. I'm in. You guys have got some weird what the hell? Tony Loran just donated, not to be outdone. Tony Loran.
Demands 2CTHNEKKEDMDUCKIE.
Tony Loran, I am sorry, but you are going to have to do a charge back on that donation. That is not a request I am in any position to fulfill. Or, depending on what you want to see, there may not be a lens wide enough. Moving on. In addition to scoring information, some of the things that you can get out of the screen here are your domain and your vassal limit. And this is actually where we start sort of getting to the meat and potatoes of the game Crusader King. So we're talking about how this is a game about power and how you manage the structure of your realm. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. You can't do everything yourself. If you try to do everything yourself, much like in real life, things work out very inefficiently, right? If you were to try to grow your food and prepare your food and then cook your food, you would literally have time for nothing else. This is why we specialize, and this is why we delegate tasks. So your domain are your personal holdings. Currently, I have 9 holdings, and I am capable of 7. Okay, for those of you who didn't see it the first time, Fraggle Goddess demands to see to naked system ducky. The thirst is real. That is definitely a direction that I was not expecting the stream to go. So the domain would be things that you individually own. It's worth mentioning here that you can do a playthrough of this game where you just have one county and you're still an emperor. I would argue that there's really no benefit to doing it that way, but this is possible. The trait that will govern your domain... There's a few things that will govern your domain size, but in this particular case, stewardship is sort of the primary trait. So 10, roughly about average, so I can sort of expect, unless I have a disaster, I'm going to be able to sustain about 7 holdings. Right now I have 9, indicated also by the red coloring. And so one priority I have right now is to bring either my domain within my limit, or to accept the losses that I'll be getting from it. Again, you get lower tax revenue, you get fewer troops from having a domain that's too large. And again, this is just a representation in terms of your inability to manage a large set of holdings. And of course, it makes sense that if your character has a higher stewardship rating, then they're able to keep track of things. Again, it's one thing to have an empire, but if you, if you're not able to administer it well, it doesn't really count for a whole lot. So, Skeleton Killman, can you see my whispers? I've gotten 1 whisper from somebody so far, so I know I'm able to see them, but I don't feel like I'm getting a lot. Been having issues with whispers for some odd reason. Is it that too many people are giving them to you? Rule number 1, Chalk, don't tell us you're not up to facecam standards and think we won't ask to see it. Just 1 second. I know better than to do this because it's gonna hurt my stream, but I feel like this is worth it. Hello, Gigantic Cootie. Thank you. All right. I believe I have a compromise that will make everybody happy. And then we can actually get back to gameplay. While I'm at this, actually, so it's going to take me a minute to sort out this this setup here. The next thing is your vassal limit. So much like land, you need to be able to manage your realm. The relationship between a lord and the vassal is basically, in general, it is military support in exchange for having landed titles. So my vassals don't necessarily pay taxes, but I can call on their troops for a war, which I'm currently fighting right now, actually. So all right. I think I have a link that we can all get on side with. So unlike land, which is a fixed possession, either you have it or you don't, vassals are a little bit unique. In this case, I can have a total of 44 vassals of count rank or higher. So cities are run by mayors. So in this case here, like I've got barons, I've got mayors. These are not going to count towards my vassal limit. However, I've got a number of dukes here. I've also got a couple of kings below me. So your vassals are anybody who have a title lower than you and who report to you. Again, have that relationship in terms of providing you military support and possibly tax revenue, but generally they don't do that. So... I don't think a streamer could ask for a better chat. Didn't click it, didn't want to leave the stream. You're not missing much, Miss Cupcake. Hot dogs! Give me some credit. Stream ripped for you for no reason, but immediately came back. So, basically, this one, the strategy that I've been employing, so this is actually where we start talking about, I've been talking about like data, but I haven't really been talking about how I translate that to a strategy. So priority number one for me right now is to reduce my domain size, because that's just needlessly wasteful. I actually already have in mind a couple of ways that I can fix this. So that's not a problem. My bigger issue here is my vassal limit, because this is representing an upper bound in terms of the conquest that I can do, right? I've got plenty of ripe Muslim land to take by force. Right now I'm taking territory from the Byzantine Empire, or possibly about to get my ass kicked by the Byzantine Empire. We'll see how that works out. But just want to see your face. Chuck, do you have an Xbox One or a PS4? I'm afraid I don't, Skeleton Kill Man. The only gaming console that I own... Well, I guess I have a DS, but the only gaming console that is kind of a traditional console that people would consider is a Wii. This chat is too awesome right now. Friggin' love it. Yeah, Wii bro. It's, this is a great chat. Especially for such a... I mean, this is turning out like last week's stream where there's almost no gameplay and all dialogue, but you guys have been really good about it, and I appreciate it. So The vassal limit requires me to do the following, okay? My normal priority is to keep my highest member of court a duke. And the reason for that is basically dukes can't gain that much power. And so there's the possibility of having factions, people who are supporting policies that I don't currently have and maybe wouldn't voluntarily adopt myself. And so if you make somebody a king, that gives them more power, and so potentially gives you a rival. So one way in which I can retain power for myself is by limiting the power of potential rivals. Now the drawback with that is because I have a limit of 44 and I control such a large area, this means that if I want to stay within my vassal limit, then I can't do that much conquest. And so what you'll notice now is I actually have 2 different kings under me. And the next set of decisions I'm going to need to make if I want to engage in further conquest in the Iberian region would be, am I willing to give up any more of these kingdoms? Right now I have the kingdom of West Francia, Lombardy, and Middle Francia. And really these kingdoms, both historically and, you know, for this playthrough, form the core of this empire. So I am really loath to actually give up that kind of territory. So with that in mind, if I don't want to start empowering these people below me, I need to consider curtailing the amount of conquest that I need to do. Now, I may not necessarily find that desirable, so I need to do a little bit of a balancing act, trying to figure out how do I add to my holdings without getting the vassal limit out of control. He keeps going back to the game, so we can't talk him into camming. Yeah. You would suggest you stage a coup, but you like this chat too much. Yeah, I've also made sure that all of my chat vassals don't have enough power to be able to to rebel. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself in terms of the war thing, but the reason why we're actually conducting this particular war is that I've got a couple of dukes who can get a claim on these territories. And so if you think about that, that is a way, if I have a duke who could get territory, but it's held by somebody else, this is a way that I can make sure that the territory that is in my empire has expanded, but I haven't created another title that I need to give away. So one of the ways that I've been trying to deal with this vassal difficulty is to try and conquer areas that lend themselves towards, towards vassals that I already have, gaining relatively trivial parts of land. And this is one of the reasons why I'm continuing to conquer the rest of Italy. The Byzantine Empire is relatively strong. Like in the current form, they've got 12,000 troops, and on paper I have 19,000, but in reality, I've got the 12,569 that I've got right here, and I'm losing money. So it's quite possible that I actually lose this war due to a slight lack of planning. I'm currently winning it by a fairly high margin, but this can turn against me pretty quickly. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And so this is one of the first things. The reason why I'm spending all this time talking about this one menu here is it actually starts painting some broad strokes in terms of what you're going to accomplish for the next, both in terms of this generation and over the next couple of generations. So right now I want to make sure that I get my vassal limit under control and I get my demand limit under control. The demand limit I'm going to deal with most directly, and the vassal limit is something that I'm actually going to need a few generations to fix. So, oh god. I know somebody's already posted a picture of me once before, so I'm a little scared as to... Oh, very cute. Sidewalker system. Nicely done, guys. So I normally like to go to the council menu next, but let's talk about laws for a second. One thing, so this little crown here indicates a special kind of law known as the crown laws. You can only change those once a generation. And right now we've got medium crown authority. My goal in the intermediate term is to get to high crown authority. So a description of high crown authority: the monarch has curbed the rights of the high nobility, relying instead on a budding bureaucracy led by a lesser nobility. We started off this game with minimum crown authority. Vassals are a law unto themselves, ruling their fiefs like petty kingdoms. Their obligations to their liege are minimal. So effectively I'm ruler in title only, and everybody's sort of doing their own thing. So as is sort of consistent with the way that I do games like this, and the way that I do this kind of style of game, I tend to be very selfish and I tend to be pretty aggressive. So, you know, I play this game in a way I would never want to see a country run. I try to maximize my crown authority because this represents my individual power. It gives me the ability to command more troops and just generally expand my territory. There's actually also a very specific reason why I want high crown authority. Notice that it says feudal, burgher, and church vassal opinions. This is because you're taking more power for yourself, and you're taking it from somebody. So that shows basically the dissatisfaction in your realm from one individual taking more power. You will notice there's a title here, Agnatic Cognatic Gavelkind. This means that men and women can inherit the kingdom, although not equally. I wait until I run out of men and then women can inherit. As is the proper way. Skeleton Killman is in a meh mood still. I'm sorry to hear that. What's on your mind, Skeleton Killman? So, one of the things that doesn't scare me too much about the lower vassal opinions is the fact that I get a higher levy from them. So right now I get 40% of burgher, noble, and burgher, noble, clergy, vassal levies. So if they have 100 troops, I'm going to get 40 troops. Well, actually, I guess it's some base amount plus 40%. But anyways, I'm going to get some amount. I get an additional 20% for going to high crown authority. So they can be mad all that they want, but I'm the one with the angry mob. And that's one of the reasons. Like, in the end, if factions come up against me, great, cool story, bro. What are you going to do about it? Where's your army, right? So generally, this is why I'll go for high crown authority. But specifically, high crown authority does something kind of special. And it's actually dealing with these succession laws. So one thing I need to worry about right now is my Gavelkind succession, because it means all of my titles are individually divided amongst my sons. And in this case, this means that I've actually already divided the kingdom up a little bit like this. A couple of my sons are a king of Saxony and such. But this means that West Francia, Lombardy, and Middle Francia could potentially wind up in the hands of other people. And you can actually see that on this icon right here. So Lombardy goes to somewhere else, Middle Francia goes somewhere else, the Duchy of Orleans, along with the county and a barony, goes to somebody else. So this actually means that all of my holdings will go away when I die. There's no way that I can really fix that without killing my sons, and I don't necessarily want to do that. So one of the ways that I can fix that is to change the succession laws so I don't have to divide my realm amongst my sons. And I can actually already do that through a couple of means. But what I'm specifically looking for is the succession law that most people are probably familiar with, called primogeniture. And what this basically means is that the eldest son inherits. Now, I have a couple of other options. I could do elective Gavelkind, but why would I? Because I don't like existing Gavelkind, and I don't want to put voting inside of it, because who the hell wants that? Seniority is one that some people argue for. So the advantage of that one, again, is that you're able to centralize power into the hands of one individual. The drawback is that they're elderly, so you have less control over how their life gets shaped, and you have to be ruling for 10 years to be able to change these succession laws. So the problem is that you get a succession of old kings who don't rule long enough to be able to change the laws. And so in the case of primogeniture, the drawback is that you have to have high crown authority. But the good news is that once you do it, you get young rulers Not so young that a faction can become a problem for them, but young enough that you're still able to have some meaningful impact on how their life turns out. So right now, the intermediate goal is to get High Crown Authority so that I can go to primogeniture. My highest goal, as far as this vassal concern, is to introduce Imperial Administration. That will increase my vassal limit by an additional 25. But the drawback is that to introduce Imperial Administration, this is basically remodeling the old Roman Empire, I need absolute crown authority, and then I also need Majesty of 5. So for High Crown Authority, I need Legalism 3. What's my current legalism? 2. And I've got 178 research out of 553. So we're going to be waiting a while for the legalism that I want. And even then, I'm not going to be able to get the Imperial Authority. So what does this tell us? It tells us that we're going to be dealing with succession laws that we don't like for a few generations. But we have an immediate goal ahead of us in terms of saying anything we can do to increase our culture and get the legalism that we want to increase our crown authority will get us towards accomplishing one of our goals. Oh, let me catch up on... Skellington Killman has answered the question. So we were talking about love story stuff. A few years ago, you had a crush on a girl who had a crush on another guy, but it's just kind of hanging on your brain. The other guy also happened to be one of your best friends. I'm really sorry to hear that, Skeleton Killman. I don't think it necessarily will make you feel any better to know that that is definitely not an uncommon story. Just suffice to say, I think it's right not to feel like the bad feelings that come from that will tend to be because these are things that matter, right? We wouldn't be bothered by trivial things. Oh, hang on, I should just catch up. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't even be talking about this because we've got other people who are better at this. So Desner, man, I'm bad at the pronunciation. Had that happen, Skeleton, but I've had worse happen, though. And Jesse Quill, why not me is one of the worst feelings to have. Remember, it is not your success or fault, but it is the other person's feelings, thoughts, and actions that choose who the object of their affection is. Sometimes time and situations just don't line up. It hurts, but it's life. Chin up, bud. You are worth a person who will value you over all the others. I don't think I could have put it any better than Jesse Quill did. So, and Skeleton Killman, I assure you that Jesse Quill is somebody you definitely should listen to on that kind of stuff. And Weebro needs to take his own advice here, but you just gotta let it go and move past it. It can be tough, but you can do it. Yeah, I mean... Skeleton Killman, that's fine. That's what Twitch is here for. I like talking about goofy stuff because I'm a clown. But there's real people on the other side of these keyboards. And like I said, people are interesting. And we don't talk with you and we don't value each other just because of the things we can do for each other. We like people. We are naturally social creatures. So if something's on your mind and you want to share that, or you feel like you'll get some benefit from talking with us about it, I think that's good. And I'm glad that you guys have created an environment in which people can talk with each other. And don't feel bad. You were dating somebody for over 4 years, and one day her ex came back in town and she left me for him. That sucks, Red Pain. Real people who want to see my face. Finding Bonnie, I can assure you, you are not missing anything special. Okay, I'm going to rush through. I won't do all of the introductory stuff, especially because the two people who I was kind of hoping would stop by for introductory stuff didn't wind up, so I think we should do some gameplay just so I can say I actually played Crusader Kings 2. But I did kind of indicate in terms of what some of my medium-term goals are going to be. Those 5 traits that I talk about have equivalents in terms of council members. This is a fantastic way for you to sort of get to know the mechanics of the game. And if you look at it, right, I've got 5 people who can manage this entire huge realm here. If you play a count, you have 1, maybe 2 pieces of land which you can use those 5 people over. So in this case, playing a smaller kind of ruler will actually allow you to focus your energies a little bit more. You're not necessarily going to get these kinds of stats because, of course, the advantage of having such a large landmass is a very large talent pool to draw from. But again, it's not necessarily bad that you start small and learn that way. So my Chancellor is off trying to improve diplomatic relations. That's just basically to make sure that my realm kind of stays in order. So I'm going to go to opinions. I'm going to find a place that doesn't like me, and I'm going to move them here. This is an example where another piece of visual information was more helpful to me than the political divisions of the realm. And so again, what's another way I could have done that? Well, I could have checked my vassals and seen that he has a negative 56 opinion of me. I could also do that in my menu here and rank according to opinion. Actually, I guess I'd have to do court. Oh, he's not even my vassal. Well, that's what I get for not paying attention. The other thing that your Chancellor can do is fabricate titles on other realms and sow dissent. My Marshal is currently in my capital, and he's researching military tech, and that's mostly just because I'd like to try and win the technology battle as quickly as I can. I definitely need money, and so remember how I went to the economy screen? But in this case, I decided Paris because it's got a tax income of 95.4 a month. That clearly is even without any modifiers, this is my richest county by far, and so I'm going to put my steward to collect taxes where the most money is. You can confirm that Chalk is handsome, and you are all missing out. Jesse Quill is an extremely kind individual for saying so. But this may be a case of beauty being in the eye of the beholder. Yes, my face is on my Twitter. Weebro's gonna need some need to be up in 5 hours to drink beer for college football Saturday. Thank you for casting tonight, Chalk. Has helped you more than you know. Good night, you are all lovey. Weebro, thank you so much for stopping by. It's an unusual stream for sure. It is great to have you here. I really appreciate you hosting. I hope you have a great day tomorrow. I hope you get a great sleep. And I am looking forward to seeing you cast, and I am looking forward to casting for you in the future. Guys, that is a highly distorted photo of me. I mean, let's not go crazy. Just check Twitter to look at my face. Okay. You need to go on to something more interesting than me. Spy Master is a very useful one. So what I'm using right now, my Spy Master for right now, is to break up factions. Or I should be. So in this case, the only faction that exists right now is Lower Crown Authority. I definitely do not want Lower Crown Authority. I want the exact opposite of that. So they don't pose a credible threat right now. I could also technically use my Spy Master to steal technology, but I want to make sure that this thing is nipped in the bud because I'm in a war right now. Factions will act based on their strength. Because I'm at war, my troop strength is going to go down, which means their relative power is going to increase. So it's good for me to use my Spy Master right now to try and break up this faction before it becomes a problem. Look, man, 50% face, and you got the goods here. People love it. You can hear System Shock blush from here. Yeah, Sir Wedgie. This is the level of attention that I am unaccustomed to. And then finally we've got the Court Chaplain. Now the Court Chaplain actually represents the most difficult one for me at the moment. I have a very clear idea of what I want to do with them, but what I want to do with them doesn't always match up with what I have to do with them. So notice first of all that I've got my realm here, and I've got the religions. So I've just taken a number of Muslim counties. We also used to have heresy, but I believe that has just been eliminated from my realm, so I have a little more wiggle room. I've got a couple of pagan holdouts here, but I'm actually reasonably comfortable with where I am. previously we had heresies come up, and heresies can actually form rebellions. So I wanted to stomp out the heresies before. Now, one thing you might notice is there is actually a correlation between revolt risk and different religions. So here's the revolt risk map. Here is the religious map. It's not perfect, right? So like this place has currently got a revolt risk, but that's because of a special event. But notice here, we've got the pagan tribes, we've got revolt risk. And if I mouse over, I can see, sure enough, we have a different culture group, we have a different religion group, and so there is a higher revolt risk. All of the areas that we've just conquered, again, because they're a different religion and a different culture, again, there's the potential for a revolt. So, Catholic heresies in particular are very bad for that, and there are random events that can trigger that also give some revolts. So I wanted to use my chaplain to get rid of those first. Now, because my goal is cultural technology, I'm going to take my chaplain to my capital. I'm going to accept that I'm going to have heathen religions in my borders, but my individual power is more important than the eternal souls of my subjects. And so I'm sending my chaplain to research cultural technology in Paris, and I'm going to do everything that I can to improve that. So, system, I totes tap that. Well, Finding Bonnie. I'll let you know when I start going to cons. Skeleton Killman says, a couple of other things is that the cause of your being out antisocial, you're taking out of public schools so that you could be homeschooled. Don't get you wrong, you really enjoy it, but you ended up losing all of your friends. And you made something you go to every Wednesday, but half of them aren't there anymore. No, that's fine. Real Skeleton Killman, if you've ever seen me in other Twitch chats, you'll see that that is not even a long paragraph by my standards. Desner will be back. Need to shower. Finally done cleaning. Fantastic. I'm glad you could get some work done while I'm monologuing. Welcome back, Kite. Yeah, Skeleton Killman. Be back south, just saying. I am in grad school, unfortunately, so my PAX plans will be after. My PAX plans are after I get out of academia. By the way, I've told this joke before, but do you want to know the difference between an introverted economist and an extroverted economist? The introverted economist looks at his shoes when he talks to you. The extroverted economist looks at your shoes when he talks to you. Can confirm System Chalk communicates in short stories when it comes to text. Yeah. I have Dickensian sentence paragraphs. Alright, so that was a bit of a crash course in terms of how I use my council, but again, notice how I use the information from my personal screen to dictate what my council members are going to be doing. There's a couple of things that I can do to also address my demand limit. Now, that's because you've got these warnings up here. This is talking about titles that can be created. I can create kingdoms and hand them over to vassals to get past this vassal limit problem. So why don't I do this? The reason why is that I currently have succession laws that I don't like, specifically Gavelkind. And those exist in all of my holdings. So the problem that I run into is each kingdom that I create is going to get agnatic cognatic Gavelkind, which means that instead of having 4 different succession laws that I change when I can finally get primogeniture, I would have 4 plus whatever kingdoms I create. And then, of course, it's also worth keeping in mind that I do eventually want to start getting these kingdoms back. And so, in addition, I've got the Kingdom of Saxony, which I want to take back. That's 5 that I need to change. And at some point, I would like to take... why... Bavaria? Come on. I'd also like to take Bavaria. So now all of a sudden I've got 6 different kingdoms that I need to change the succession laws for. And if I have any gap in terms of changing of the succession laws, well, guess what? They're going to use the old succession laws to change over, which means it probably goes into somebody else's hands and they need to take it all over again. So, System Shock is talking about rebels and religion and whatnot. You're sitting here like you play I play SC2. That's an RTS too. Yeah, Captain Bear. You know, it's this is why I like Crusader Kings 2, right? I actually have StarCraft 2. I wish I played a little bit more of it than I actually do. But they're just different types of games. Like, I like both of them for different reasons. And in the case of Crusader Kings 2, it's because the complexity has a certain appeal to it. But I will say its combat is thinner. Whereas StarCraft 2 actually has a very robust combat system and a very interesting emergent strategy that comes from it based on the real-time nature of it. And I would just argue that the diplomatic elements of the game just simply aren't there. But that's not what the game is trying to do. So it's a matter of difference, not a matter of quality. I will also say I'm much worse at StarCraft 2, but that's also probably because of a lack of experience. By the way, I don't think I said hi to you tonight, Captain Bear. It's great to see you again. You don't get the joke? So the argument, the joke here, Skeleton Kill Man, is... So, it's traditional mark of an introvert that you don't look people in the eye when you talk to them. So the argument of the joke is that economists are just not very social people, and so the definition of extroversion amongst a nerdy bunch of econ majors like myself, extroversion basically means that they can muster up the courage to look at somebody else's shoes rather than their own, but the idea of making eye contact is still totally foreign to them. And in my defense, I will sometimes look at somebody's chest when I'm talking to them instead of their shoes. SC2 focuses on how fast you think and change to your opponent, when CK2 is much more about long-term... Yeah, exactly, Captain Bear 2. And actually, I think there's a great virtue in games that... So one of the reasons I love Quiplash, right, is you can try and think and, like, craft the perfect joke. But some of the stuff in Quiplash is so amazing because they had to come up with it at that moment. And there's a few games like that. Not like Quiplash, obviously. But there is something I really like about, I go to the two extremes. I like games where you can get as granular as you can in terms of your strategy. So it's things like Frozen Synapse, Frozen Cortex, which I really like. And I think they're along the lines of Crusader Kings 2. And then there is games like StarCraft and ones that force you, or one thing I really like Satellite Rain, because Satellite Rain doesn't have a pause option, so far as I can tell. And so that forces you to make your decisions in the moment. Skeleton Kill Man should go into econ? I mean, I really like the subject, but you should do what you're interested in. Alright, so I promised I was going to get rid of my Demen problem, so how do I do that? Yeah, so I just said I'm not going to create any more titles specifically so I can try and avoid the succession problems. Now notice, again, it's making it hard for me right now. I still want to engage in conquest, but I'm trying to weigh the difficulty of changing primogeniture succession in multiple realms against the ease of conquest right now. So... this is why I'm putting a lot of priority behind getting those technologies, because I'm going to hit a hard cap in terms of how much land I can have if I don't want to empower too many of my vassals. Does anybody have advice on how you can get yourself to be social again? Skeleton Killman, I know I don't seem like it, but for a very large part of my life, I was very introverted, extremely shy. I still am shy, but... it was taking the time to go out there to make myself talk to people and take an interest in people. Not just to talk for the sake of talking, but to, like, there's a few things you can do to train yourself to be social. Like, as I said a couple times over this cast, people are interesting. When people say something to you, there's one thing to just process words, and then there's understanding behind the words. And some of this comes down to like nonverbal communication and things like that, but really hearing what is being said and understanding and empathizing with somebody. And this is a skill that can be developed. Some people have it naturally. But going out, making the effort to, that you're like being alone at a party you're not talking to everybody, and because other people aren't that social, but they give the illusion of being social, they're all just sticking to their own little social groups. It is scary to talk to somebody who you don't know, because there's a little bit of pride on the line, right? What if they don't like me? What if they don't find me interesting? What if they don't think I'm cute enough? There's a ton of stuff that can go wrong. Now, I'd like to tell you to dismiss that from your mind, but that's a legitimate and real fear. And if you have it, me just telling you to get rid of it isn't going to do anything. But just remember that these are people who they didn't introduce themselves either. And if everybody at the party is just taking the time to talk to each other, the social circle that they already know, then you have kind of taken a step that they haven't in going out there and introducing yourself. Now, every once in a while, you're going to run into somebody who maybe isn't really worth talking to. Like, think about it this way. What happens if they tell you, I don't want to talk to you, whatever? One, they're rude. Two, they are clearly not worth your time because they are the kind of person who will be hostile to a stranger, and you don't need that in your life. So there's really no loss to you for doing something like that. But at that point, I can remember a very clear point, and specifically in high school, where I said I would like to, if I can't be more social, I would like to give the appearance of being more social. And so I'd have a story to tell, or I would have, I'd have a joke, or I'd have something. Like I said, I'm clowny. I mean, I talk about academic stuff every once in a while, but I don't know. I'm a buffoon more times than not. And it becomes a habit. And again, now I can't shut up. But I can remember a time when it was difficult for me to talk. And the nice side effect is that I'm at a point, even though I may still be a little bit shy, when I do presentations, I'm in the master's program. I used to be in honors economics, which involves doing a thesis. It's quite common now for me to hear that I'm a good presenter. Clearly that's not something I should self-diagnose. I feel comfortable presenting. I put a lot of effort into my presentations, but generally, I feel like it's something that I have a good handle on. And that is not a natural talent. That is something that I have developed. And so the nice thing is that in addition to, the mental benefit that you have from hopefully developing your social life, you may find that it is a bit of an employable skill because it will make you a little bit more comfortable speaking to an audience, speaking to strangers, and communicating your ideas effectively. You can do magic tricks, and when you do them, you would attract a crowd. For whatever reason, after the tricks, no one ever stuck around to talk or anything. Well, even part of that is entertainment, right? I think Twitch is a little bit different because Twitch, by its very nature, is a social medium. It's one that has a built-in chat feature, whereas doing a magic trick would be... in this case, people are seeing a magic show. What do you do at the end of a show? If you go to a movie with someone, you talk with somebody about the movie, you've just had an experience together. But the fact you were with them to go to the movie was a social experience already. It's very rare that people, after the movie is done, start talking to a stranger about the movie, even though it was a shared experience. So in this case, the entertainment is very clearly segregated. But what you might be able to do, take the magic trick and do it at a party. Use it as an icebreaker. Usually the biggest problem that people have with social situations is making that initial contact. The fact that you can do magic tricks blows away any problem of starting. I can't do magic, right? I have to rely on that terrifying situation of some unknown individual, and God help me if it's a good-looking woman, you know, hey, you're beautiful, is basically what I would wind up doing. I would kill to be able to, you know, pick a card. Was it the ace of spades? No, it was diamonds. I am the man you wish your man would smell like. You know, this kind of stuff. So having a skill like that, and again, like, this is something that you have developed. So this is part of yourself that you get to share with people. And so it's a nice little way that you can insert yourself into a situation without having to worry about, you know, without necessarily having to worry about coming up with a clever line or something like that. By the way, I think that part is kind of ridiculous. Saying hi is all that you really need. But in that case, you can get over sort of the initial awkwardness of first contact, and instead, you know, you've got a cool little talent which will give you your icebreaker, and at that point, you will learn both to share. I mean, doing a magic trick, you've already shared part of yourself, and so hopefully that translates into a situation where you'll learn about somebody else. And, you know, sometimes that can come in the form of a question. You know, what brings you here tonight? You know, there's a wonderful film. Oh yeah, actually, Jessica, I was going to tell you about this. So there's something called Black Mirror, and John Hamm from Mad Men plays a character in one of the episodes. And he's got that line. It's like, hey, did you see a guy on a horse on the way out here? You know, that's his icebreaker. Oh, that's actually a really good Christmas episode. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to give you a specific formula because in the end, it is about you and it's about the person that you're talking to. But the biggest thing is to make sure that, one, it can't be... So the wrong way to go about a social situation is that person is a means to an end, right? If I go into a social situation, it's just like, this person is how I am going to practice my social skills. I've already failed because they are not a person to me anymore. They are my practice dummy. But, you know, I have a lot of situations where I need to talk to strangers because I do TAing, you know, and, you know, in some ways you might argue that it's a little bit easier because it's a power relationship, right? I have the ability to grade this individual and they should theoretically have a built-in respect for me. Well, one, built-in respect doesn't actually happen. It can, but it's not guaranteed. And number two, it's no less intimidating. I'll tell you for sure. TAs find it no less intimidating than the student on the first day of classes. But I love sharing knowledge. It's something that gives me tremendous enjoyment. To talk about something, to try and show people how it works, put my spin on things. I mean, if any of you were to have an econ question, I would do my best to explore that question as fully as I could, and to try and show you the way that I look at the world. And so, especially because it's a situation where this individual wants to learn something, we have common cause. We have something that we can talk about. If we're at a party, that's going to be a different situation. Again, doesn't mean that I can't talk about academic things, but it's just a different situation. And again, it's a matter... I will still talk about things that matter to me. I don't believe in don't talk about politics or religion. I think those are fantastic conversations to get into because they come down to people's values. And in the end, it's just a matter of making sure that there is that give and take in terms of making sure that it's not all about me. And it's, I mean, in some ways it's about me because I get the great fun of meeting interesting people and finding out what they're about. But in this case, it's important to remember that people are not the means to the social end. They are something interesting in and of themselves, and the reason that we are engaging in conversation with them is specifically because they are so interesting. Everybody here is shy and an introvert. You're shy around your friends and maybe that lack of trust in people, which takes long... That voice, no offense. No, I suspect you're talking about my talking to girls voice. None taken. It was... it sounded that way for a reason. Middle children are the best. Where the hell did this come from? Alright guys, I'm going to fix my Demen, and then we're going to go on with the war. I'll still continue the talk, but I did promise that we'd actually have some gameplay. And depending on this, I might actually do a different game before I finish off for tonight. But I'm going to make sure we get some proper Crusader Kings 2 content in before we do that. So we'll see how the mood feels afterwards. So the reason why my demand limit is so high right now is I built a couple of new cities. The reason why I chose to build a city rather than a castle or something like that is because cities are very big sources of income. They tend not to give very many troops, but you can build universities in them and they will generate tax revenue. So this is ideal for me because what are my goals right now? Well, one, not to go bankrupt, and two, to make sure that I am able to get to my legalism as quickly as possible. So finances will give me the opportunity to build the university. University will give me the opportunity to raise my legalism. But says wrong holding type in Demen. Right now, I am the mayor of Chaumont-Soleur. So in this case, I'll just do create new vassal because I don't actually want to be a mayor. I seem to have one other title. So this barony. In this case, actually, I don't want to give it to my son. So let's make a new vassal here. And Skeleton Killman, like that's actually, so I grew up in a religious household. I can't say I'm a practitioner right now, but I mean the youth group is a good way to get that kind of practice, right? Even if, I know you mentioned that some of your friends don't still go there, but as long as there is somebody new coming in, just think of it, right? The new person who comes into a church youth group is somebody who doesn't know anybody. Now, they can take the risk and they can try and introduce themselves. And some people might think that's the right way to go, right? You're coming into our group, it's your job to introduce yourself. But there's another way of looking at that and saying that this is a new person who might not be feeling that confident. You know, how do I make them feel welcome? You know, I'm in an environment that I really enjoy being in. How do I communicate to them? How do I make sure that they feel the same way about this environment? And so at that point, I think that's one, a really good reason to talk to somebody. And two, it's a way that you yourself are going to get a little bit of that social practice. And thank you, Kite. So. All right. Let me see if I can raise any more levies. Yeah, I can get a couple. So the way that this game works is, it was mentioning that you get levies from your vassals. I've already raised up my personal levies. So, let's see, got a couple more here. I don't think they're going to arrive in time, but I definitely need all hands on deck, so one of the easy ways to raise your troops is just to go to this screen here. I've currently got 10,000 troops raised of my own, along with 1,000 over here. That doesn't quite add up, actually, but fair enough. I don't have that much in reserve, it looks like. But we'll make do. Right now we outnumber them, but I believe they have a territorial advantage from being on hills, and I'm going to have some advantage from sieging them out. So the way the combat works here, or specifically war, is you've got a war score, and you want to... Oops. Oh god! Nobody saw that. Thank you for subscribing, Jesse Quill. So, one of the fastest ways that you can raise your war score is by winning battles. 68% of my war score right now has come from battles. I've also occupied territory, but it's worth remembering that this war is currently for Neapolis, which I don't hold. So I've got two options. I can try and crush the Byzantine army right here, or I can continue to siege Neapolis. Now, right now, they have got negative 7.5 to my war score, so I'm almost losing about 10% on this war, specifically because I don't hold the war objective yet, and I'm halfway done sieging it. So if they attack me, they're the ones with a combat minus, and I'm currently sieging out the territory that I need to. So at this point here, I'm going to keep an eye on how many troops are coming in. Nicholas Danger, thank you very much for that follow. You've caught me. I mean, I will admit, this is the second stream that I've done where I've wound up doing a lot more talking than combat. But I really appreciate that show of support. It's been a bit of a weird night tonight, but I honestly have been having a really great time doing it, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it enough to follow as well. So thanks a lot. OS 10 is the hidden boss. So the thing about new people is your church is huge on inviting people, so you've never actually seen a new person come without having a friend or group of friends with them. Well, that's fine. I mean, you can still introduce the group. Just go full Terran, Mass Marines, and Medevac. Man, I wish I had healers in this game. It would be so much easier. So, right now, I could potentially gain quite a bit of war score from crushing this last big army of the Byzantines, but I'm not going to do that because I at least get 7, but like on its own, just simply by taking the war objective, I gain myself at least 10%, and then of course whatever I get for claiming the castle. So it would be ridiculous of me to wait. Now, the penalty for this is that they're getting stronger. They're probably going to have about 10,000 troops when all is said and done. And honestly, that is not a big advantage over them. But my hope here is that I'm going to be able to siege out the province before they're going to become a problem. It also gives me a chance to combine some of these troops here. They're not a lot, but you know, when we're so closely matched on the margins, that's going to matter. And then, of course, finally, because they're going to be attacking me, I might have an advantage as a defender. I'm not 100% sure on how that works. So, weird equals some serious life talk? Yeah, life is weird. So, anyways, I promised I was going to unpause. One other thing that I need to consider is my monthly balance. Now, I've got one other option, which I really don't want to do for raising money. So, we'll see how that goes. Now, one thing I want to look at right now is these movements. So they're all heading in the same direction, which is fine. I'm going to continue sieging out the province, or the county rather, and we'll sort of see how the situation develops. Well, Real Skeleton Killman, I obviously can't dictate your feelings to you. But saying hello is not... There is nothing inherently dangerous about it. So in some ways, I agree that the personality side of things makes it difficult. But the actual process of talking to somebody is a very simple one. And it's one that will get better with practice. In your opinion, attack England. Trust me, you play Total War Rome. We started as England when we did that. All right, so remember that vassal that I was trying to discourage from conspiring with infactions? Well, my spy master has 26. Remember that I said 8 was average, so this guy is really good at his job. My liege, I believe that one of your vassals can be discouraged from associating with conspiratorial factions if the proper leverage is obtained. How do you wish to proceed? Now, I'm not quite sure how the mechanics behind this work, but it always pays off to take a look. So, we have got a smorgasbord of traits that we can take advantage of. He's a homo, ambitious, cynical, shy, patient, craven, depressed, and ill. So, clearly homosexual is not a bad trait for anybody to have. In the Middle Ages, it's a huge problem to have. So, my options are blackmail the vassal or threaten the vassal. In this case, blackmail is almost certainly going to work. Yeah, Captain Bear, it's not... I can make atrocious spelling errors. I would never tell people to... I would never tell people to correct their English. I am glad that you're communicating. Whether it is in perfect prose or whether it needs a little bit of polish, I'm quite indifferent to. Honored Emperor, though I curse your name, I will comply with your unfair demand. Just keep the sensitive information to yourself. So yeah, this is also an example of how I'm a raging dick in this game. So remember how I was talking about war score? We went from 63% because the ticking war score against us made that more severe, and then we went to 79. Now the drawback is we are actually going to lose this territory here, but this territory doesn't mean that much, and there are 3 more holdings that we can take, and it looks like they're getting a trickle of troops in, but nothing to really make me scared yet. So, words are hard, man. Sometimes I can't English good. Yeah. You're from America, just can't spell. So, in this case, I think the decision to focus on sieging out the county was the correct one. Actually, I think I'm just going to let the game run. So again, we're losing money. We gain a little bit from continuing the siege. And I always want to keep an eye in terms of how these developments are going. Like the size of their army. One other thing to keep in mind too is as they siege out my provinces, they are going to be losing troops. Of course, the same thing happens to me here. So I want to be careful that I don't lose too many troops. But in this case, we have about a 4,000 man advantage on them still, and we're continuing with the sieges faster. So, Gigantic Cootie, thank you very much. Have a great night. I'm sorry to start playing the game and actually develop on things around the time that you're going to sleep. But it was wonderful to have you here. Looking forward to the next time, and I hope you have a great evening. My Emperor, I am pleased to report that the majority of the population in Lys have been converted to the Catholic faith. Your humble vassal. So actually, I should have mentioned too, my chaplain is not the only thing that can change religion. This can also naturally adjust on its own. I have no idea where Lys is, though. Let's see. Oh, I guess it's Lecce? I don't know. Anyways, it was probably Orthodox, but I'll just say excellent because I don't need to worry about it. Couldn't even speak it for around 7 years, so if you think you can't overcome shyness, just put forth some time and you'll make... Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Because people... Oh, my goodness. I wasn't paying attention to where my troops were going. Yeah, they'll live. So... another victorious siege. So again, another thing to keep in mind, we're definitely going to lose the first territory here, but we've got at least 2 more territories. One of them is a bishopric, so it's going to just fold up like a house of cards. And then the barony might be a little bit more tough, but again, these are war goals. We only need 7% more, so time is on our side here, and hopefully they keep wasting their time with the siege because it'll drop them to below 10,000 troops. And I'm going to be taking the war goal. So this is absolutely the way to go, especially because it generates money for us. But to Captain Bear's point, it's hard to tell somebody who is shy, just go and do it. I'm not going to do the... I'm not going to do the Shia LaBeouf quote, but you know exactly what I'm thinking. Okay, I really need to... Okay, that was just my province I lost. So, lost a couple, like, single digits. So we might actually still win this war. Maybe not with this siege, but maybe the next one. Okay, so they're on the move. Let's risk it. I'm at least gonna... Okay, so they're kind of conscious that they're losing this war. But we stay the course. But yeah, it is just a matter of putting yourself out there. Like, the worst that can happen is somebody uses words against you. And those are honestly not people worth thinking about. And just over time, it gets better. The one way it won't get better is if you just continue to say, I wish I was better at talking with people, and you don't take a step to improve it. All right, so we got another faction that developed. I've got a free spy master, so in this case, I will make good use of them, and we'll see if we can find other traits. Again, this is a game, I sometimes need to, I should be a little more careful with the way that I talk during this game, because obviously the Middle Ages view of the world is not actually representative of my feelings. I do not feel that homosexuals should be blackmailed for their preferences. Wow, this guy works fast. Threaten the vassal. This is my only option. I wasn't going to look at it. But if it achieves my political ends, then I'm going to do it. Honored Emperor, I ask you forgiveness if I've done something to offend. I obviously wouldn't dream of associating with any faction conspiring against you or your enlightened ruled. You are forgiven. All right, and looks like we have got another territory coming onto our side. So we've now completely sieged out the war goal. We're now in a very tough spot because we've got 14,000. This is about all we can hope for troops. They've got another 1,000 coming in, and it looks like they're going to get this war goal. So I could try and reclaim Salerno, but that's laying siege to a castle. I could also try and regain control of Amalfi. Actually, I think Amalfi's the way to go because that's a city. So what I want to do right now is generate as much war score as I can, as quickly as I can, because if they siege this out too quickly, I'm going to have a little bit more trouble. I might actually just get the natural ticking war score as well. So we're at 98. I'm pretty sure we win. Yep. Started your YouTube channel to cure boredom and find new friends. Finding Bonnie, I would definitely include... I mean, I only had one taker as far as promoting channels and things like that are concerned, but by all means, feel free to give us a link inside the chat so we can get a chance to see the content that you've prepared for us. All right, so I've got my 100% war score. I offer the peace. I enforce demands. So this means that the Basileus, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire, will lose 100 prestige, and more importantly, I gain the county of Neapolis, and I am able to drop my... I'm able to finally drop my levies, which means that I'll also be gaining some money. So the war is done. We've achieved the goal. It was a little touch and go for a while. But we are now at a spot where hopefully we should be making money again. Now, we've got a little bit of wackiness going on with my vassal limit, so I want to see what's happening with that. This could just be my natural vassal limit, and there was a rebellion going on. But one thing I like to do here is just sort by the rank, because kings and dukes are exactly where I want them to be. And the question then becomes, do I have any counts that I can incorporate into other realms? So we've got the Count of Corsica. Now, Corsica can't be incorporated into a duchy, so I don't worry about that. Next we look, I believe Capua is in a similar situation. Oh wait, this was one that was in a weird situation, so... Yes, I can create the Duchy of Capua. And I believe that should reduce my... Well, it won't reduce my vassal limit, but it'll at least... It'll at least kind of give me some prestige for building it and just generally put my realm in order. So what I basically did there was I created a new title that does cost me money, but this guy will love me for it. And again, it gives me another duchy, so it's just, instead of having these individual counties owned by a guy, instead it basically just becomes a situation where he is kind of the owner of that particular realm. He can make his own vassals if he wants. He can sort of do whatever he wants with that land. So I do have 4 more vassals than I should, though. So let's just continue on and see if any of these counts can be incorporated into anything. So, for instance, we've got Boulogne. What duchy does that belong to? It belongs to Flanders. So in this case, I will look for the Duke of Flanders. And in this case, I will do transfer vassalage. I have no idea who that is. So this is the one tricky part. I actually need to figure out who some of these guys are. Alright, I definitely don't want to give that away. Alright, actually there's definitely some work that I can do as far as dividing up this realm. So, I think I'll actually wait until... I think the reason why he's become one of my direct vassals is because there is a fight going on. Recently started a weight loss objective, so the accountability should come in handy too. That's really cool, Finding Bonnie. Actually, seriously, Clara, who's sort of my patron on Twitch, the owner, for lack of a better term, of Team Panda, did something very similar. So, best of luck on your goal. I think that's really good when people set that stuff for them. I don't have all the things that you need to start with that yet, but you don't have a good way of getting money for it either. I mean, Skeleton Kill Man, I'll definitely say... I mean, I'm in school, right? So I don't have... a massive budget for streaming, but I will say I took the time to get a nice mic because I was told that I have a little bit of a nice voice. I would definitely say having something is better than nothing. I mean, that's not exactly a huge insight, but like the big thing here is that I don't feel that people should feel compelled to have a... I don't think people should be compelled to feel like they need, a top high-definition webcam that's separate from what's on their computer and a proper, XLR mic that's going into a top-of-the-line mixer and a second computer to do streaming and, like, all this stuff. Like... Streams will be better for it for sure. The more hardware you get that makes sense will clearly improve the quality of a stream. But the big thing is that most of the time when people start off making content, it's not going to be that good, right? At least in my experience, I'm never good the first time that I do something, and streaming is no exception. So the nice thing, rather than feeling the pressure of having a large amount of capital invested in the streaming goal, starting off small allows you to, one, find your feet and find your voice as a caster, and then number 2 will allow you to find out what you really need and what is instead nice to have. So for instance, I would love it if I had a proper streaming PC, and that is an ambition that I have for the stream because I think it's a good long-term investment for the stream. but I prefer streaming to not streaming. And so in this case, I've said, you know, I've got a lot of problems with the Mac version of OBS, and I have crashing problems, and my bandwidth isn't that good, but none of those were excuses for me to not stream. So now, as you said, you really don't have the stuff where you can stream yet, so I'm not going to tell you, you know, well, you stream anyway. But definitely don't sell yourself short. If you have any means of putting a video onto the internet, find a way to work with what you have and use that as an experience to eventually grow. And then you'll find over time, you will eventually find ways to accomplish the things that you're looking for. I definitely believe in necessity being the mother of invention. And I think especially for streams and things like that, it's a very good way to learn your craft. Main issues probably take a while to be solved. You probably don't have a PC, you don't have a PC, so that's obviously one that's a challenge. But again, you don't have a PC you wouldn't be able to use without interruption. That's fine. See if you can section off a little bit of time. If you can't, if you can't find something that you can section off for time, don't do a stream like this, which obviously requires a few hours. I wouldn't recommend doing a stream like this anyway. It's terrible. But think about a Vine, right? Vines have a very fixed amount of time. You've also got magic abilities, right? You've got the ability to do magic tricks. So what if you did a Vine series about the magic tricks that you can do? Doesn't require a lot of an investment of time, and it's a way that you can get around to preparing content. That kind of thinking is something that will allow you to hone your craft, and it will remove the excuse of not having the hardware. Because again, I could very easily say I don't have the hardware to do a proper stream. But I don't like thinking that way. I like thinking about, what's a way I can do a show with my technological limitations. Although I will admit, like, this is a nice computer that I have. It's not a proper gaming computer. Hooray for awkwardness. Finding Body, I'm not going to be able to watch that until after the stream, but I am looking forward to clicking that link. Denzer made Melbourne Shuffle bids on YouTube. Sorry guys, I gotta see. Stream is frozen. There we go. Okay, good. That's weird. Every time you click a link, the stream rips for you. Oh, sorry. Thank you. You have nothing. That's the problem. Yeah. When you stream, you use your computer mics. It's one screen, and it was a laptop. Yeah, Captain Bear. I've never quite been that far. I did win a headset. So the other thing too, what I'm doing a lot of the stuff on is actually on won or donated material. So like I won my headphones, and the first mic I ever used was actually in the headphones that I won. So, I mean, again, there are limitations. I would be lying if I said anybody can stream, everybody's got a voice, the world will make things happen the way you want. No, I mean, some people can't stream because they don't have a computer. Some people can't stream because they are not comfortable presenting. And not everybody has to stream, right? There's modding, there's just watching streams. I mean, like I said, you guys contribute so much to the stream by being here. But if you've got something you want to do, if you've got a voice that needs to be heard, I'm also not going to say, oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you want to stream, I want to see you be able to achieve that goal. And it does sometimes involve getting hardware to do it. I think a wonderful thing that my local library has done, I live in Vancouver, is they've actually made what they've called the Inspiration Lab, and it's a place that any member of the public can go into, and they have like a green screen set up and a cam, and like you could actually record YouTube videos if you wanted at the public library. If you don't have a penny to your name, all that you need is access to that library. You could record your manifesto. You could record on audition tape. You could, read a book in the library, and you could decide to tell the world about it. Do a book review in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. I think that is a fantastic idea. I hope that is an idea that becomes more popular in libraries, because I think that is a really good way of making a library relevant in an age where fewer and fewer people are reading. on mobile data, so streaming is out of the question for you until you move back to Texas. Yeah, I have bandwidth constraints, but I just crushed the bitrate like a tin can. But laptop was nice, it worked. Then it broke, but let's not talk about it. Say no more, Captain Bear. Okay, if you want to ask me any System Shock, we'll have to say it because I'm lurking now. No, that's fine. I mean, the Q&A was intended more for viewers asking questions of me, but... Alright, I'm just going to unpause the game and I'll do all my other work sort of in the background. So I'm still going to see if I can hunt down any vassals that are, you know, count level that I can give away. Finding Bonnie's doing a series of videos on reviewing a book that you're reading. I'd love to watch that. And subscribe to your channel, Finding Bonnie. Keep up the good work. Excellent. Gotta go play that Star Trek online. Have fun, Captain Bear. Jessie Quill is a huge Star Trek fan. So if you've not checked out her channel, please consider doing so. I think she is... you have a number of common interests. Here's the other things. You have brothers who will take any chance they can to ruin a recording. Incorporate them into the cast. I think most people probably would not say me screaming is the height of streaming. But in the context of having received an astonishing donation from Akadak, in the moment, it was appropriate, right? So, and again, never let... Perfection can be a very paralyzing influence. And I mean, I was going to say, I say this as somebody who does not like producing work that isn't the best that it can be, but I definitely think getting practice is worth more than actually than sitting down and just thinking about how cool it would be to make the best version of something. That's just my view. But even if you have problems, like again, it's not, you know, having technical problems means that the recording is not going to be as good as it could be. But the big thing is that you're learning to deal with real life throwing problems at you. When life gives you lemons, take the lemons back. Demand to see life's manager. What the hell am I supposed to do with these? Do you know who I am? Akakadak, gotta get some rest. System Shocks, it's always a pleasure, good sir. Have a splendid evening, chat. Akakadak, thank you for making tonight so special. It is a great honor to have you here. I hope I get a chance to see Endors so I can tell him the story from today. More importantly, thank you so much for being such a good friend. It's always great to see you in somebody else's chat or here. I look forward to the next time, and have a great, well-earned rest. All right, Finding Bonnie, tell me about what stresses you so much about filming. After years of careful planning, so-and-so from the court has raised a large army of exiles, mercenaries, and hopefuls, declaring his intention to press his claim by force. Well, good luck with that. I absolutely will, Akadak. I am so looking forward to that moment. Thank you so much, man. To the humble pilgrim Pepin, blessings upon you and your house. I accept your paying the ransom for the safe return of Count Boethus. So, one challenge that I have that I didn't talk about quite as much, and actually I'm getting some factions now, so I'm blowing up. Oh, looks like just the one. But my spy master is still working on it. On the last faction. So one challenge I also run into is to consider my position in the world. So right now I've got 21,000 as far as levies are concerned. My overall levy limit is actually, I'd say, significantly lower than what it should be. I'm still losing money, aren't I? I think I know why. Oh god, that's really scary actually. I think I'm still going to run with it, but I need to pay back the moneylenders. Alright, I'll talk a little bit about the financial problem I'm running into. But one of the things that I need to consider when I go to war is that I do have this neighbor of the Byzantine Empire. And I mean, there is, so if you look at the traditional borders of the Byzantine Empire, right, I shouldn't hold this. This should normally be in their hands. And so I suspect they have at least a few claims on what's going on these areas. Now, in the end, my intention is to take it from them and to keep it. But they do have a direct line into my little boot. So it's important to keep an eye on who they are and what their abilities are. First of all, very strong martial leader. Right now they've got 13,000 in terms of the levies, but I just beat them, right? What I'm actually looking at for their forces are about 23,000 troops plus their retinue. That's a fairly substantial army, especially when you consider that my own holdings are about 2,500 plus my retinue. So I can, if I'm at maximum force, I'm going to be able to hold them back. But being at maximum strength is a pretty strong condition. So let's consider some of my other neighbors. So the Umayyads are sitting at about 12,000 troops, and that's more or less where they are. So they're at kind of full troop strength, and they've hired about 2,000 troops. So we're looking at about 12,000. Don't have anything immediately to fear from them. Croatia. Should actually check to see if I can vassalize any of these people. Probably not, but all right. I mean, I could just take these guys over if I wanted, but remember we were talking about the challenge that comes from trying to incorporate too many titles into my realm. Yeah, nobody wants to get vassalized because they're all losers. All right, looks like everybody's going to bed. Desnair, thank you very much for coming by. Got some errands to run in the morning. Have a great, well-earned sleep. It's a pleasure having you in chat, as indeed with everybody. I was going to say I've tracked the number going down a little bit over the time. So some of you have stated that you're going to bed. Some of you have been lurking. Definitely, it is always great to see these numbers in here. It sort of sucks that transcoding causes some of the problems, but you guys have stuck through it. You've stuck through a very chatty cast with only gaming content coming through right now. If I don't get a chance to wish you a good night, or if you haven't been as active inside of chat, as always, I never want to take people for granted, so I will take the moment to say good night to you all right now. I'm still going to be streaming for a while, and I hope that some of you at least decide to hang around, because I'm certainly enjoying myself, and I hope you guys are too. But especially because we've got a few people who want to go to bed. I thought I'd just take a minute to say that. Your entire family thinks playing video games for longer than an hour or so is a waste of time. They always need to do something. They don't get video games the way that you do. Sure, your dad will play, but he still doesn't game. Your brothers don't care about it. My older brother tried to get me not to speedrun because you have to use glitches. You like Twitch as a way to talk to fellow gamers and escape life. Yeah, I mean, Skeleton Killman, I never liked the idea of escaping life, but I will admit, I mean, I don't want to sound smug about it, but I'd say that my life is a fairly easy one. And so, you know, somebody who's not in my situation might find, ooh, my vassal levies are going up again. So, it's maybe a sentiment that I can't appreciate on my own, but I understand is a real one that people deal with. Um, I mean, as far as the family equation is concerned, understanding gaming is always a little tricky. Like the one thing that's worth mentioning is, as much as I like gaming, it's not the only element of my life. Um, it's it's a big part of my life. It's something that I personally find important and worthwhile. But clearly I don't um, clearly I don't, you know, abandon school or whatever just so I can stream. And I have sometimes stopped streaming or haven't done a stream because I need to meet my obligations to my, to my current focus, which is of course my studies. I mean, in one sense, you can always say it's like, well, how important is it that my family, quote unquote, get gaming? Is it important that they understand that this is something special to me? In some senses, yes. In other senses, maybe it's, something that we can't quite hope for. I guess the biggest one, it comes back to Hamlet, right? To thine own self be true. Your family, whether or not they are misguided in their wishes, I have to say, I'd find it hard to believe that they don't have your best interests at heart. And perhaps it's just a matter of finding that way to color the interest in terms that they can better understand. I mean, I talked a little bit about my own experience with gaming and how Civilization was a very important game for me, but one that I was able to sort of get a little bit of buy-in from as far as my family is concerned, because they saw the educational value of it. But in the end, I mean, you'll follow the things that interest you. Circumstances change. Life always gives us something new, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. And we do the best that we can with the circumstances we find ourselves in. I think we learn a lot more about ourselves by being able to deal with situations when they are not ideal than we necessarily do when we when we have everything going our way. But that said, I don't envy the situation you find yourself in. It sounds like it's something that weighs very heavily on you. So here I'm going to sit in a holding pattern for a little while because I don't have any vassals that I think I can sort of transfer over. I actually should have seen if I could, well, you know what? I can just see if the guy looks familiar in any of these areas. A man claiming to be a lord who disappeared 7 years ago has found his way to my castle. He sings of the fair queen Elfland and says some of his songs are prophetic. I can say, long lost but home again. I gain the trait kind, which will lower my intrigue, which is already disastrously low, but will improve my diplomacy, which will help me with my vassal problems. I can say, just an old drunk, throw him out. I gain 1 martial, but at the loss of some prestige, and I can say, he's finally found his way home then, and I gain a courtier in my court. Now, in this case, I really like the idea of gaining kind, and I mean, I've already kind of written off my intrigue, and I don't have as much of a need for it right now. So in this case, I'm going to choose to say long lost but home again, just because that higher diplomacy may raise my vassal limit and lessen the blow of being over the limit. So in this case, 49 out of 45. Still a very high number of vassals to have, but not insurmountable. So I also need to assign a new court chaplain, and as nice as it would be to eliminate heresy, we are going to continue focusing on researching cultural tech. As far as money, looks like we're still bleeding cash. Let's see where my retinues are sitting. Let's go for the full value, actually. I want to see... What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to fill up my retinues, and I want to see if the damage to my money is coming from the fact that my retinues are reinforcing. If it's not, then I'm in trouble, because I need to find a way to stop the money. And Skeleton Killman, I've been trying to think. I think Finding Bonnie has probably said it better than I can. It's important for me to be empathetic to situations, because in the end, I'm never going to be able to know where people are in their lives and the things that they're facing. But I also know in some ways, I can't think of a lot of people who I've met in life who wouldn't... I gotta think of the right way to say this. They would be justified in saying, you know, I didn't do X because of this hardship. I didn't do Y because of this hardship. There's a lot of things that life throws at us that makes it more difficult than probably it should be, or than that is fair. But again, I definitely feel that the character of people and some of the things that basically they either develop or they inherit that make them the kind of people that I consider myself lucky to be their friends over. A lot of those traits, to me at least, seem to come from the adversity that they face. And so it's always... I mean, it's tough to face hardship. There's no question about that. But I also think in some senses it's... I'm trying to come up with the best way to say it. You know, at some point, these circumstances, as bad as they are to be in at the time, are ones that will ultimately give you experiences and will show you exactly what you're capable of in situations where maybe things don't always go the way that you'd planned. And so again, it's always, you know, I really would prefer it if life worked out the best for everybody I've had the pleasure of meeting on Twitch, because, you know, there's so many very nice people that I meet here. But again, you'll always find a sympathetic ear in this place in terms of any difficulty that you're facing. But I also think for your own sake, and because I think you're capable of overcoming and being able to handle the things that life has thrown you, I definitely think that you will have a better time of life if you take a moment and see what you can think of in the circumstances in which you find yourself. You know, I don't want to say, you just got to figure it out, sort it out yourself or something like that. That's definitely the wrong way for me to talk about that. But just look at challenges that you face as, I hate to use the term opportunity, but I don't have any better one. Use it as a case where you're going to find out about yourself. You know, find out more about how you handle situations and the best way to, I don't know, respond. Like I said, some of the best traits of my friends have come as a result of, you know, the way that they have handled situations that didn't go their way. And like I said, I think you are capable of more than you give yourself credit for. And I think you will find more satisfaction in life if you sort of reframe the hardship that you're facing in a way that that makes you feel like you have a few more options in response. Because I think it's something that would wear on me. In my own case, it would wear on me if I felt like every time I tried to do something, there was just another obstacle in my path that I couldn't, I felt like I couldn't get past. Kyriakos feels I risk too much with my escapades and tried to persuade me to stop risking my life. But it's such a thrill. Alright. So, it doesn't seem like there's a lot that's happening right now. In some senses, that would not be an unfair estimation. This is another trait in Crusader Kings 2 that I think is quite valuable. And that is the ability to be patient and wait. So, first of all, there are actually a few things happening here that maybe aren't so obvious. Consider first the Sultan Abdul the Young at 58. If I declare war on him, I become a truce breaker. Muslim rulers gain a negative 25 opinion. Well, I am declaring war on them because they have the wrong religion. But I lose over half of my prestige. That simply will not do. So, either he needs to die or the truce needs to finish. And this truce is going to last quite some time. So, the way I'm dealing with that is assassins. Now, the problem is my plot power isn't that strong, so it's probably going to take a long time. So, first thing we're working on is opening another opportunity to attack the Umayyads. Next thing that we're working on is restoring my retinue, which still has some reinforcements that it needs to get. I am no longer bleeding money, and so we also have an indirect goal of paying back the Jewish moneylenders. I could also have the option of expelling the Jewry, which in this case has long-term consequences of hurting my technology, but would actually gain me money. It's not something I want to do, though. I think the costs would be too long. This is how we stay in the Dark Ages. A minor goal for me would actually be to get enough money to... a minor goal for me would be enough money to actually build some universities or just generally improve my infrastructure. But I think it's more important to pay down that loan and to... A lot of conversions. Very happy to see that. I think it's a lot more important for me to, one, pay off the loan, and two, build a bit of a war chest so I have options in the next war. So even though, like right now, I'm consolidating my position, I'm making sure that my my levies are restored, that my retinues are getting back, does mean that time is ticking and that this ruler's time on the earth will become progressively shorter. But again, notice that we're at 33,000 levies. We're more or less at full strength now, which is good. And one, we are lessening the chance of attack, so the Byzantine Empire won't necessarily do a counterattack, because even with their strength in arms, they still only have about 18,000 troops. And they are more, there's still some room, but definitely they are not at a point where they're going to be a threat to me. And again, as time goes by, we're closer to the death of this ruler. What does his son look like? 13 marshals, so I've got a better army than him. So, It's actually, there could be an argument to be made that I should assassinate the Basileus first, but I've already invested time in killing the Sultan, so I'm hanging on with that. So 1, sometimes these things take time. 2, it doesn't hurt to consolidate your position. And 3, as time goes by, I get more technology, my retinues build up, my levies get restored, and I earn money. So other games have sort of trained us to sort of expect that we're not making progress if we aren't actively doing something. But one of the things that I like doing in a game like this is setting myself up so that I can sort of let the game just run for a couple of years while the plan sort of unfolds. And again, we're mostly looking at this moment to improve our legalism is really the thing that is going to put in motion the next set of objectives. And so I'm at a point now where I want to make sure that I don't waste the time, but I don't necessarily want to just rush headlong into situations. Been listening and thinking. You've talked to your mom about what you want to do, and they understand how much you enjoy gaming. I think I can stream if I talk to my mom about it, setting aside time for me to be able to record and stream. Thanks for the advice and help, everyone. I'm really glad to hear that turned out, Skeleton Killman. And I will say, I mean, I'm probably not the best one for your parents to talk to, but if they have any questions about the experience of streaming or why I feel that it is a good expression, why I think maybe it's something that can benefit you in a way that they don't necessarily understand, I'm certainly happy to write a word or two or talk to them on the stream or something like that. But I'm glad to hear that things have worked out a bit for you there. And you seem to have no problem speaking about it in places like this. It might just be that you're behind a screen or just typing. I mean, yeah, I'm obviously behaving in a way that's different from how I would behave in real life, and it's because I enjoy the anonymity. Sorry, it's that time of night where I can't talk anymore. I enjoy the anonymity of the internet. Alright. My steward probably did not think I'd notice a few coins here and there went missing, but the steady disappearance made me suspicious. Might it be that the gold is disappearing into his greeting fingers? Question him. I found some more evidence that the steward has stolen the money and confronted him with it. He confessed and begged me to be just when punishing him. You will pay back what you stole. He dislikes me by negative 20 opinion modifier. However, it gives us enough money to pay back the moneylenders, and I'm going to do that right away. There might be an argument to building up a war chest, but I am running a surplus, and I do gain revenues from bishoprics. So if my temple vassals like me, in the end, I'm going to get a little bit more ticking wealth. In fact, we're at 5 gold a month, which is a fairly reasonable amount. A troubadour and his wife have arrived from Occitania. Their performances range from vulgar satires to political events and everything in between, including songs and poems of courtly love. I hope you do not write any satires about me. Options available because I have the Roth trait. 5 prestige, or I can lose a little bit of gold and gain charitable. Now, I think I already have that. In this case, I'll say I hope they don't write any satires about me just because prestige is ultimately the way that the game is scored. If your sentences seem all over the place, it's because it's currently 2:53 a.m. Oh my god, everybody's up so late. I'm feeling kind of tired myself, too. So I may not, I kind of wanted to do another game after this, but I'm definitely feeling sort of done. It's 12:55 though, so we'll take it to 1 o'clock and we'll find somebody to host. So, fate smiles upon me, my wife Pelagia is pregnant. Hopefully it's not a son so I don't divide up the rest of the realm anymore, but if it is, we'll see how it goes. Alright, my emperor, the more I study the Lollard religion, the more I feel compelled to embrace it and show you the wisdom that lies in these texts. I have sent you excerpts from the most interesting parts. I urge you to follow my example and embrace the Lollard religion. I can become Lollard, or he's mad! Arrest him! So, my court chaplain turned into a heretic. Let's get a new one and go research that legalism. This guy is way too good at everything else to be a commander, so I'm not going to appoint him. Ah, yes, and you know what? I should be looking at my vassals to see if I can maybe get more benefit from improving somebody's opinion. She is currently ruling in Cremona. So what I'm doing here, basically I have all positive opinion from my vassals, so in this case I'm just assigning my chancellor to talk to somebody who has the highest opinion of me. And actually what I'm going to do a small cabinet reshuffle because there's some people with better traits that I can assign to certain things. I'm okay with a 20 marshal. Mostly I just wanted to make sure that the really big differences were accounted for, especially for something like Chancellor. It's actually kind of important, so. Should sleep now, starting to get a headache and you're quite tired. Thanks for the chat. You'll be continuing to listen to the audio with my smexy voice to put you to sleep. Alright, Skeleton Killman, a pleasure having you here as always. We're actually going to be wrapping up in about 3 minutes myself, but as always, it's great to talk to you, and I'm glad that things are working out a little bit better for you, and I hope they continue on that path. Have a great night. And Finding Bonnie fell asleep to Skunk Odor's stream last week ×3. Man, I wish I streamed 3 times. That's good though. I mean, as nice as it is to have an active chat, there's something very rewarding about having, I mean, first of all, having anybody being interested in what you're doing. I mean, that's, on its own, I think is pretty amazing. But even just down to little things, like it's like, you know, there's a lot of things that people can be doing with their time, and especially like right before you go to sleep, right? You know, there's something that somebody does to unwind. And if I can be, you know, the disembodied voice that just takes you off to La La Land, that's cool, right? If I get to be the last thing that you see, or that you know, your consciousness recognizes before you get some rest, that's a pretty special place to hold in somebody's day. So even if it's not that big of a deal to the person who is listening, that's neat. And it's neat, it's really, I don't know, there's just something about it that is a little flattering, really interesting, and it's one of those, you know, small features that just makes streaming so worthwhile doing. So, alright, looks like I have inherited territory. So I have inherited the barony of Cambril from Baron Wyfar. Let's see where this thing is. Ah. Let's just see if I can give him the barony outright. I think that's the best way. He is a family member, so I'm okay with that. If I assassinate him, I'll just wind up inheriting it anyway. Chalk fail? Your starship board is nice looking, first time you've been in it. Oh, and Star Trek. Alright, so we actually made progress. I think we were, what, 59? We won a war, we added territory. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if I succeeded that much in terms of making this an educational stream. But let's talk a little bit about what our priorities were at the beginning, how we are at the end, and what we're going to do about it to move on. One last thing I'm going to do, I did finish a war. I've looked at this a couple of times. But it's always good to see if I can ransom people. This is my heretic bishop, so let's see if we can convert him. Yep. Alright, so I don't have anybody that I can ransom. Our assassination attempt on the Sultan is moving by. So the way assassination works in this game is that an assassination plot usually takes a couple 100 years. and then adding plotters will lessen that time. So if I change assassination attempts partway through, that's a bunch of time that's just been wasted. That's the reason why I'm sticking there. I've acknowledged that I'm going to be losing some titles on my character's death, which is why we are trying to run as fast as we can towards a higher legalism. What I'm actually going to do here is put a few points into religious customs, and it's mostly just because running straight out for legalism 3 is not going to work. There's an 82% penalty to the base cost of legalism because it's ahead of time. So I'm accepting that I'm going to be researching this a little bit slower, but it's in exchange for religious customs, which will be improving my temple vassals' opinion of me, which translates into more money and achieves one of those other goals that I'm looking for. So if the penalty wasn't so high, I would consider saving up for legalism, but right now I don't see a lot of sense in trying to rush to level 3 when I have other ones that are level 1. So... Oh, you're wondering what you were talking about. So, as far as military is concerned, our retinue is back up to full strength, which is great. In terms of our total troop count, we're at full strength across everything, so we've got 41,000 great followers of the cross to do our dirty work for us. The Byzantine Empire should also be back. They're not actually at full strength yet, but they are looking fairly paltry at 22,000 troops. Do have a strong commander, but in the end, there is only so much that one ruler can do. So we have achieved one goal, which is safety in numbers. So we don't have a credible threat from a kind of a rival kingdom. Probably our most immediate conquest opportunities are going to lie in the Umayyad Empire, which is why we're currently attempting to assassinate the Sultan. If the Sultan dies, either by my hand or by natural causes, I will immediately turn my attention to the Basileus. Basically, the way that this works is if you haven't got any... like if you've just finished a war with somebody and there's no other intervention, I believe it takes about 10 years. I think we finished, what, 860 was that war? That sounds about right. So basically you're waiting 10 years for the truce to finish, and there's definitely more combat that I can do in the meantime. So, or sorry, there's more combat I can do, not in the meantime, but, you know, if I could do it earlier, I would want to, is what I'm trying to communicate. Particularly to take this territory and then eventually here. So assassination's a great way of doing it. If this character dies, I'll also have the opportunity to invade, but obviously if this character dies, I'm going to be focusing more on reuniting the kingdom. So there's trade-offs in these cases. I did succeed in repaying my loan, so we're solvent, we're gaining more money. We're actually getting a very healthy income now of 12 gold or wealth a month. So there's a few priorities that I have. Gaining a new retinue would be good. Now, if I add to that retinue now, I'm going to be spending money reinforcing it. So I'm a little bit at a loss as to whether or not I want to do it. I'd love to add some cavalry, which will cost 126 wealth, and I've got 249, so maybe it's better for me to hold off. A couple of other priorities that I can have that maybe aren't so directly related to my succession laws. I do have some holdings. So I'll first look at my castles. Right now I can build castle walls to raise my tax income. Let's go by the duchy view. I find that a little easier. So here I could build a castle town to improve my income. I could also build another castle town. A lot of castle upgrades. Castle walls, castle town have been taken care of, so those seem to be in order. Again, sort of where they should be. There's other things that I can upgrade here as well, but right now I'm focusing on income generating upgrades. So castle town here. I think I've already checked these out. So the first priority I'm going to have is Paris, because Paris is where taxes are being recovered. In this case, I'll add to the castle walls. Now, where I go next is a little bit up in the air because it's a fixed value that's increasing by. So 2 in any given province shouldn't necessarily give me any bigger advantage. So I'm just going to take a quick look here and see. I believe I just own the primary holding in these counties. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of castle towns that I can build. So this is where I want it to be. I'll just build a castle town here. So that kind of leaves me without money, but again, we're gaining 12 a turn. The ideal situation will be to go to these places and build a university. Now, the university costs 877.8 wealth, very expensive, but the technology spread rate is 30%, and I gain economic technology points of 0.05. So overall, a fantastic upgrade to have, but an expensive one to have. So, and I've got quite a few cities. So I think probably, in my opinion, the best way to handle this would be to... oh, and actually there's a monastic school that I can build in my bishoprics, which is actually quite a bit cheaper and gives me cultural technology points. So maybe I should consider building a few more of those. So as far as infrastructure is concerned, again, I want to make sure I build something of a war chest, but I also know I'm not going to be engaging in combat anytime soon, so I'd like to use this opportunity to build up my infrastructure. So I'm just going to do one more tour of the realm. I'm specifically looking for these HRE shields. Actually, I could have just counted. This is 7 territories, 7 territories. So in this case, I've got just the primary holding in each of these areas. So what I want to do is, 1, for the cheaper stuff, I want to upgrade my existing castles. For priority number 2, I want to make sure that every county looks like this. So in this case, I've got a maximum number of holdings. So in this case, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 7, 8 cities I can build at about, we'll say 700 a pop. So what does that work out to be? 400. I said 8, right? I think I said 8. So that's about 6,400 gold. So we'll say about 6.5 to 7,000 gold that we're looking at to build the full number of cities. Not a very realistic goal ahead of ourselves. So what I'm going to do right now, because I'm looking at the, maybe not intermediate term, but slightly longer than short term to worry about these the next war that I'm going to go on. I don't need to worry about building that war chest right away, and so I'm going to spend some time upgrading my castles. The nice thing about upgrading the castles is that I can then turn around, allow them to generate more money over time for me, and then that will hopefully be financing the other upgrades a little bit faster. What else? So we talked about... Oh yeah, so as always, our primary goals are going to be handling the vassal limit. That is going to be dealt with once and for all by instituting imperial governance. But until I can do that, priority number 1 is to get the succession law that I want, which is through Legalism 3, and then it'll be to get Absolute Crown Authority and Majesty 5. So again, heavy investment in technology. So... Number 1, get legalism. Number 2, continue to conduct conquest where I can. Number 3, use the money from the downtimes to build more cities to improve my technological capabilities. And then finally, hopefully sooner rather than later, we will have absolute crown authority, imperial governance, at which point I just run rampant over Europe and claim as many titles as I can in the name of the Holy Roman Empire. So, guys, this was a lot of fun to do. I'm sorry I didn't stream on Monday, but I hope this did something to make it up. I got some great book recommendations. I got some extremely kind donations and hosts. Just a reminder of the hosts, Weebro, Jesse Quill, Skunk Odor, and donors tonight, Jesse Quill giving another wonderful donation, Akadak giving the largest donation this channel has ever received, and that is coming after an extremely generous donation from Jesse Quill before. Tony Loran donated 2 times. I mean, not only are these donations that are, I mean, substantial amounts, but these are from people who I look up to as far as streamers are concerned. So this was an extremely unique night. It was one where you guys gave me some, you know, just wonderful love, wonderful material to talk back and forth with. I am looking forward to doing it again. I really hope that I will be doing Shadowrun on Monday. Not likely that I'm going to be able to do it on the weekend, but as always, I want to make sure that I do a stream on Monday for you. Sorry that I'm not going to be doing another game as a follow-up, but I'm definitely done with talking for tonight. So the last thing that I'm going to do is give you guys a host. And I think the best person for me to draw your attention to is none other than Ewok Fuzzy Nuts, who is a fellow Team Panda member. I'm going to drop a raid message in chat. I'd love it if you guys come along with me and drop a raid message in chat. Ewok is a really great guy, somebody I definitely feel deserves more viewers in his channel than I sometimes see when I'm in there. But I think the game he's playing tonight should be one that hopefully gives him a little bit more attention. It's Ark. It's a lot of fun to watch. And Ewok's a really great guy. So I'm really happy that I get a chance to host him tonight. So I will, again, I'm just going to type the host command in there. I'll give you a raid message. I'd love it if you guys came along and did the raid, even if it doesn't turn out to be your kind of thing. You know, just show a little bit of support. Give him the kind of love that I got tonight. It'll make his day better. And then, again, if it's not your kind of thing, it's there's nothing saying that you have to stay after the raid. So I'll just put the info inside here. Let me just make... I always spell his name wrong, so... Alright, as always, these messages tend to get cut off, but I am going to host. Thank you again, everybody. You are the best audience a streamer could hope for. I would not trade anybody for the world. You guys do so much to make me feel good about my streaming, make me feel better about myself. It's a wonderful hobby. I'm really glad that I started doing this, and I really appreciate that you guys are getting something out of it too. That is it for me tonight. I will see you all in Ewok's channel, and have a wonderful night, great weekend. See you all on Monday.